Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. This is the regular session for the Gaithersburg Planning Commission for Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. Great to see some folks in the crowd. That's wonderful. We've got a fairly short agenda, but we'd love to jump right in. But before I do, I'll call to order ourselves. Our chair and our vice chair are absent this evening, so I'm going to fill in briefly. So congratulations to you guys. And our alternate commissioner, Carol Rigg, is joining us this evening and participating, as not all the commissioners are here. And we don't have any meetings minutes tonight, I think, right? And so we're going to go right to recommendation to mayor and council. We have SDP 7896-2024. It's for a new 5106 1,000 square foot car wash at 10009 Fields Road. It's a minor site improvements, minor site improvements, at 10003 Fields Road in the MXD mixed-use zone. And Sam, you're going to introduce it to us, right?
Correct. Good evening, everyone. So this is a recommendation to the Mayor and City Council for Schematic Development Plan Application SDP-9896-2024. The staff presentation this evening will focus on the public hearing discussion, the applicant's responses to those comments, and a recap of the proposal. As shown on the screen, the subject properties are zoned MXD and are generally bound by Fields Road to the south, Sam Eig Highway to the north and west, and Washingtonian Boulevard to the north and east. The applicant submitted the SDP to construct a 5,106 square foot car wash at 10009 Fields Road. The plans also include the removal of an existing car wash building and site improvements at 10003 Fields Road. The plans have not significantly changed since the joint public hearing. It's still a 5,106 square foot car wash, still 28 feet tall, 22 vacuum stalls, 6 employee parking spaces, and the green area is 42%. So this slide and the next slide show the preliminary architecture, which also has not changed since the joint public hearing. It's still 28 feet tall with pre-finished metal panels, fiber cement panels, glass, and a stone veneer water table. This plan this shows the larger sides, the south and the north elevation. This one shows the east and the west, along with their exterior materials legend. So during this joint public hearing, which was on March 17th, 2025, there were comments raised about master plan compliance, other feasible uses on the property, pedestrian connections, and traffic circulation. There were no members from the public providing testimony during the course of that public hearing. The Planning Commission held its record open until 5 p.m. on April 9th, 2025. While the Planning Commission's record was open, staff received one outside correspondence from the public, which is exhibit number 59 in the record. There are currently 60 exhibits in the record. The applicant submitted a response letter to questions raised during the public hearing, which is exhibit number 50. The plans remain largely unchanged from the joint public hearing, and the applicant submitted revised plans to address minor staff comments. So during the hearing, there was discussion about whether the plan was in compliance with the 1997 master plan, which reads in part, "This designation will allow a use that is consistent with a mixed-use commercial development, such as office, restaurants, and highway convenience services." The applicant provided a response to how the use is in compliance with the master plan in both exhibits number 50 and 60. These exhibits highlight how the car wash is an allowed commercial use and also suggest that the car wash is most likely a highway convenience use, even though neither the applicant nor staff can find a definition of highway convenience uses. During the public hearing, staff initially held the opinion that the proposed SDP application was not in conformance with the master plan. At that time, staff believed that the plan would expand a car wash use associated with existing gas station and that the two properties would consist entirely of automotive uses. However, after conducting a more thorough evaluation, including the review of past permits and additional site visits, staff has reconsidered its position. Even with the conversion of a restaurant to car wash, there remains a mix of uses between the two sites because the existing laundromat and restaurant at 10003 Fields Road are proposed to remain. Therefore, staff is of the opinion that the two properties are in conformance with the 1997 Master Plan's recommendation. There was also a discussion about other uses on this site. The applicant stated in a response letter that a bank, drive-through restaurant, and standard restaurant expressed interest in the site. However, none of them would be economically feasible for the prospective tenants. A report from Economic Development shows that demand for an office remains low and that the market does not currently support new retail building construction. That being said, higher construction costs and market instability generally do not support new construction for the retail and restaurant. There was also discussion about how the site would be harmonious with adjacent properties. The applicant's letter of response shows that the car wash building footprint is smaller than the existing restaurant. The green area requirement of 25% is well exceeded, with 42% provided, and the existing shrubs around the lot will remain. And this slide just shows, you've got the shrubs shielding most of the use from Fields Road and then also from Sam Eig on the left side of the image. There were also some questions that came up about car stacking and traffic circulation. The applicant revised the site plan to show that 32 cars can stack in line and that the tunnel has capacity for 5 vehicles. There were also some discussions about closing off the left turn from Fields Road into the site, which is shown here in the green arrow, this section here, and adding a new right turn from the off-ramp onto the site with the red arrow, which is shown right here. The applicant has decided to not make any suggested changes. They are concerned that closing the left turn only from Fields Road onto the site is not economically viable for the existing tenants or the proposed car wash. And they are concerned that a right turn from the off-ramp onto the site would require major redevelopment of 10003 Fields Road, which is where the Lube Center currently is located. It's important to note that Exhibit 51 includes a link to traffic videos showing how the applicant does not believe that the current left turn from Fields Road onto the site is currently an issue. Staff also wants to note, there was a typo in the staff report. It should say site distance is adequate, instead of site distance is not adequate. So important catch that I would like to bring up. On the next slide, there was a question about possible pedestrian path from the Washingtonian Boulevard up here to Plan North to Fields Road here on Plan South. As noted in the applicant's response, there's no space to provide a sidewalk connection from Washingtonian Boulevard to Fields Road on the subject property. You can see here on the image that the red lot line shows that the lot line goes right behind the curb for the existing parking. So there's no room for a path from Washingtonian to Fields on the subject property. Now, that being said, the applicant's willing to explore a path on the adjacent property, but will need to work with the adjacent property owner to see if this is feasible. It's important to note in the applicant's response letter that the existing sidewalk along Fields Road down here is currently about 3.5 feet wide, and it will be widened to 10 feet near the shared drive aisle. So overall, staff supportive of the subject application, SDP 9896-2024. The plan meets and fulfills the purposes, objectives, and minimum standards and requirements of the MXD zone. Staff is of the opinion that the plan meets the intent of the master plan by maintaining a mix of uses. The proposed plan is in conformance with the master plan and sketch plan by providing a commercial use adjacent to existing commercial uses. Furthermore, the plan continues to support a mix of uses within the larger Rio Washingtonian Center and the adjacent Crown development. Staff supports the application and recommends 2 conditions of approval. The conditions include utility holder approval of the preliminary utility plan and minor site plan cleanups. Staff's available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. I should note, too, neglected to add that the public record is closed, I think, as you mentioned, Sam.
Oh, correct.
We do have a couple exhibits that the public got in, as well as more input from the applicant and staff, obviously, research in the package. But this is not a public hearing tonight. This is a discussion among the Planning Commission for the recommendation of Mayor and Council. I just want to add that this is really a use approval. Obviously, this project will need to come back, even though it's very well developed at the moment. Have to come back for site plan approval, final site plan in particular for elevations and site details, landscape, and that sort of thing. Really, what we're discussing tonight is this a, yeah, signage, right? Exactly. And then, and at that point, if there's more traffic needed, which I can't imagine. This is a very, in my mind, a very thorough traffic report, including the video, which I found entertaining. But this is a discussion of the actual land use appropriateness. as is part of the Rio master plan. Is that fair to say, Sam? Or
Correct.
just really, yeah. So really, when we master plan the whole thing, and and what I'm going to get to in a few minutes is maybe from some of the branding too. This is really a Rio master plan mixed use parcel, even though obviously it's not the ownership is entirely different. But
Correct. And the reason why is because the sketch plan for Rio Washingtonian included these parcels.
perfect, gotcha. Okay, great. Do you, any questions for staff, Danny?
No, I would just comment that from a visualization perspective, I was, wondering how I was going to fit a car wash on this space. I've, frequented that restaurant when it was there some years back, and it just always seemed to be kind of a tight space. But they've addressed my basic concerns, so I'm fine with it.
Carol, do you have any questions for staff or any comments?
The only comment is that knowing that there's a dry cleaner as well as another restaurant on that property does drive the point home. It is a mixed-use development property there. And both those facilities, I understand, have been there for a while.
Right, and the convenience.
Oh,
The
yeah, and the
convenience
convenience
store,
store.
yeah.
I think the taco
Well,
place is
right
in-
next to Taco Loco.
Right.
I've been there a lot.
There you go. So,
My kids love that place.
That's famous. Yeah.
so I think it does support the mixed-use
Yeah.
development classification, which was in question.
Gotcha. Sam, let me talk to you. Thank you. Sam, let me talk to you just a bit about the gateway element that was in some of the earlier packets was discussed. We're not at the final site plan level, but I want to sort of, ask staff to keep an eye on and continue to develop any idea of how to make this something more monumental. I couldn't find in the master plan a clear delineation of this as an A site, but I think that's not up for debate. This is sort of a, primary pointed site that sticks right out into what is a major throughway. Well, really almost two, an arterial and a major throughway, and becomes a primary sort of flag point for the city of Gaithersburg. So with, I think, an understanding that it is an appropriate use, certainly within MXD, certainly meets the master plan's discussion of automotive use. It's the right use. I think a lot of the technical use discussions were pretty well vetted on what is a really, really difficult site. So this site has some highly unique, from a planning standpoint, conditions that don't allow us to go, I think, too much further, just from a very practical standpoint, to still have the property usable in any kind of commercial sense. There's really not much. It's surrounded and oddly shaped and sticks right out there. But this follows on to my thought, which is really that gateway element that we've been teasing about in some of the packages, and will obviously come back, has a great deal of difficulty with it. It's an odd-shaped site. It's good that it sits up the hill. It's good that we have a nice mature shrub, barrier there. But below that, unfortunately, the state's right-of-way, what I think we're going to sort of be focused on in order to continue this as an A site, a primary threshold site, dumb architectural words, but to the city of Gaithersburg will be some kind of gateway element. I don't know whether it's a sign, large sign is, I don't know whether it's public art. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's continuing branding with Rio. I honestly have no idea. And I'm really curious about what the applicant can begin to think about, what the city can begin to think about, and then using the city's gigantic muscles to help coordinate with the state is going to be, in my mind, a big part of supporting this use at the corner. Some kind of gateway element that indicates that it's Gaithersburg. Great. Any more discussion? We good?
No.
No.
Okay, great. Well, Sam, what's the recommendation? Oh, here it is. I got it.
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission, based on the evidence and testimony submitted to the record and the findings in the final staff analysis, recommend approval of SDP-9896-2024 to the Mayor and City Council with two conditions.
Did you want to read them in?
Sure. Condition number 1, prior to the certification of the plans, the applicant will provide approval from the utility companies to regrade within the PUE and the preliminary utility plan. Condition number 2, prior to certification of the plans, The applicant will submit revised site plans to address minor staff comments to be approved by Planning and Department of Public Works staff.
Is there a movement?
Yes. I move that the planning commission, based on the evidence and testimony submitted to the record and the findings in the final staff analysis and our discussion this evening, recommend approval of SDP-9896-2024 to the mayor and council with due conditions read into the record.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The record show that's a unanimous aye, and recommendation to mayor and city council is all set. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then next up is a ASDP resolution removing the condition number 2 from a previously approved schematic development plan SDP 7362-2026 to construct a 302-unit apartment building at 913 and 917 Quince Orchard Road in the MXD development zone. And it's an amendment to schematic development plan, sorry. And Jasmine, you're here and going to tell us what it's about. I should note early this time that the public record is closed and there's no public testimony tonight.
Yep. That's
Thank
correct. Okay, thank you. So good evening. So staff's before you with the final action on application ASDP-9825-2024. As shown on the screen, the application is for the properties located at 913 and 917 Quince Orchard Road. The applicant filed the application to amend schematic development plan SDP-7362-2016 to remove condition number 2 to construct a 302-unit apartment building with an underground parking garage within the subject properties in one phase. So the next slide here is I have the previous SDP approval. So this was phase 1, which approved for 297 units. And then phase 2 included the additional residential units, would bring that up to a total to 365 units. And then on the next slide is what's being proposed as part of this application. A public hearing was held on March 19th, 2025, and during the course of the hearing, there were comments about traffic circulation on Arch and Granite Place, the new entrance on Quince Orchard Road, the traffic impact study, and pedestrian connectivity. At the conclusion of the hearing, the Planning Commission announced the closing of the record on April 10th. The applicant has submitted a response letter, which is Exhibit 101 in the record. Staff has also received correspondence from the public while the record had remained open, and they are labeled Exhibit 73 to 99 in the record. There have been no major changes made to the plan since the public hearing, and I will go into a little more discussions on comments that was raised at the public hearing. So first, there were comments about the additional vehicular traffic that was going to be generated from the project onto Arch and Granite Place. As noted in the applicant's response letter, the proposed development will generate less traffic from the previously approved SDP plan. Both Arch Place and Granite Place are designed and capable of accommodating the projected traffic volumes. And to further reduce the impacts to Arch and Granite Place, the plan received approval from SHA to have a direct right-in access only from Quince Orchard Road. The site plan includes pedestrian accommodations with sidewalks throughout the site. And as part of the project, the development team is working with the city and SHA to provide pedestrian safety improvements at the Quince Orchard Road and Great Seneca Highway intersection. The cities consider eliminating that free right movement and have it to be a single right movement controlled by a traffic signal. And so that vehicles turning right would need to stop before making that right turn. Staff and the applicant are continuing to work with SHA on those improvements. I would note that even though Arch Place is a private road, there's an existing cross ingress-egress access easement, which is a permanent, non-exclusive easement across all curb cuts and entrances to the property from Maryland Route 124 and Booth Street, from the Kentlands Retail Section 1 area, and all portions of roadways and drive aisles now or thereafter constructed on any portion of the property for the purposes of vehicular and pedestrian ingress and egress and access to and from parcels H, I, J, and the triangle parcel, which is these two subject properties and the colonnade property. So there were, discussions about that right-in only entrance on Quince Orchard Road, and for the applicant to go back to SHA to have them reconsider a right-out also, and also consider some other traffic calming measures. Such suggestions include a light on Booth and Quince Orchard Road and a cut-through at the Lowe's entrance on Great Seneca Highway. As noted in the applicant's response letter, the development team has tried to work with SHA to get a separate right-in and right-out on Quince Orchard Road. However, due to short distance to the major signalized intersection at Quince Orchard Road and Great Seneca Highway, additional ingress, egress access will violate SHA's access standards and create operational and safety concerns. It should be noted that any additional track improvements that are outside of the project site will require city coordination with SHA. And the Department of Public Works had provided some comments that have noted that they will continue to work with SHA to review any potential traffic calming measures and hopefully maybe discuss with SHA to maybe reconsider having also a right out on Quince Orchard Road. Lastly, there were comments about the traffic impact study and why the study does not look more than just 2 years into the future. As noted in the applicant's response letter, traffic studies for development evaluate projected impacts based on projected built-out year of the site. No traffic study could accurately predict traffic conditions 50 years into the future. So the goal of the development traffic impact study is to identify impacts to nearby road systems in the foreseeable future as a result of the project. The approved traffic impact study demonstrated that there is sufficient transportation capacity to accommodate the proposed development on existing roadways. Staff further notes that new development is responsible for setting its own traffic impacts based on scheduled year of its full build-out. Future traffic from other developments not yet approved are also analyzed in the traffic impact study. These future developments will be responsible for their own impacts. A new or revised traffic impact study for this development will be triggered by a change of the site plan that increases the number of trips generated or alters the access patterns. The number of new apartment trips estimated for this traffic impact study was based on the ITE trip generation manual 11th edition, which only used pre-pandemic data and would therefore remain valid under the full retain work-to-work scenario. So staff reviewed the applicant's response and is of the opinion they have adequately addressed the comments raised by the Planning Commission and the public. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed ASDP site plan and building footprint still meets the overall vision of the previous SDP plan, and it also includes changes that will improve traffic circulation. The proposed plan furthers the visions and goals of the city master plan by providing additional housing stock to meet the needs for current and future residents. The plan also includes less units and decreases the building height from the previously approved SDP plan. While staff acknowledges residents' concerns regarding existing traffic conditions and the amount of traffic that's being generated by this proposed project, the traffic issues raised largely stem from an issue with existing roadway conditions within the community. Staff will continue to work with SHA about the existing traffic concerns and whether certain traffic mitigation measures are feasible and are warranted. So this ASDP, I just want to note that this ASDP application is the first step in the site plan application process. The next step will be final site plan application submittal, where submission items can be further evaluated and discussed at that stage. And there will still be opportunity for public participation in the application process, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have this evening.
That's great. Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, great work, and thanks for really chasing down those transportation issues. I was pretty won over by the report. It's thorough, and I appreciate it. And I know the state can be hard to deal with, but I'm not even sure that they didn't come to the right decision here. Just the new design, for what it's worth, my quick opinion is I think it's a better product from a livability standpoint. I think the future residents, probably my kids and a bunch of other people's kids, will like the configuration of this building a little better. It's a little more livable, a little more green out front on the 28 side, which I think is all appreciated items that we may have stumbled into, maybe on purpose. I don't know, but it seems to be a better product. So does anybody have any questions? Danny?
I just really want to say thank you for your thorough analysis and work after we heard from the public about the traffic concerns. I think you did a very good job, and I hope that individuals are, satisfied with what you came up with. I really appreciate, your team did a very thorough job of investigating some of the concerns, so. And you still are willing to work with the community, which is wonderful. I really appreciate that because I had some of those concerns as well.
And removing condition 2,
Yeah, I'm good.
Carol?
I just want to echo both yours, Matt, and Danny's comments on the traffic. And I think with the free right-hand movement there, almost like a slingshot effect at this point, that it's, as it currently stands, that by having that additional entrance will actually impact the intersections as discussed at Booth Street and Arch and Grant. So again, thank you for bringing that to our attention, as well as working with SHA as a real option for dealing with traffic in and out of this facility, because it's at that one point it's basically 2 state highways, one being 124, the other one being 119, Great Seneca Highway. So
Which is a lot.
it's a lot. That's
a
a big
lot.
intersection.
It's a lot.
It's a big
Yes.
intersection
Yeah.
with sidewalks and everything. So thank you. So that's just my comment.
Okay, great. Well, does the community planning director have a recommendation?
Okay. So staff recommends that the planning commission, based on the evidence and testimony submitted to the record and the findings in the final staff analysis, approve amendment to schematic development plan, ASDP-9825-2024, and adopt the resolution with one condition. And that condition is the applicant to submit revised plans to address staff's outstanding comments related to the site plan cleanup prior to signature of the plans.
Gotcha. Great. Is there a motion or any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I move that the planning commission, based on their evidence and testimony submitted into the record and our discussion this evening, and the findings and the final staff analysis, approve amendment to schematic development plan ASDP-9825-2024 and adopt the resolution with the one condition read into the record.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that's unanimous for recommendation, or for approval, sorry.
Thank you, Jasmine.
That's great. Thanks, Jasmine. Well, that's it for our agenda tonight, and I think we'll just go right to from the commission really quick is next on the, Danny, anything from you?
Yeah,
Keep going left to
two
right.
things. I'm sending good vibrations to our chair as he recovers, and I will not be at the next meeting, and I have a really good excuse. My youngest son is graduating from Pitt Law. And I'm going
Congratulations.
to be there with bells on.
Maybe literally, right?
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Okay. Carol.
Nothing at this time.
All right, great. Well then, staff, do we go community?
So I do want to note that on April 21st is going to be the joint public hearing for the with the Mayor City Council. I've already polled the commissioners, but if there's any sort of last minute changes, please let me know as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'll be there. Actually, like I told you,
Okay.
I actually will be there.
And the next planning commission meetings will be May 7th and May 21st, and I will poll the commissioners for those
And
meetings.
what's the subject matter on April 21st?
It'd be the Gateway Lake Forest sketch plan.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep, that's all I have.
That's great. Greg, Frank, Greg?
Just one announcement. I think everyone here knows this, but I just want to make it into public. About 2 weeks ago, I think it was, the city actually received an award, Sustainable Growth Award, from the governor and the Secretary of Planning, Flores, for the zoning code update that we recently completed.
You looked very happy in the photographs, Greg.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's a great honor, and it's a testament, I think, to all the hard work that the council, the planning commission, yourselves, and staff put into that document. So,
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I know I've gushed about it a couple times, but and it's really geeky, planning geeky stuff. But a clearer, concise, with real English in there, and planning code is incredibly vital. Yeah, I've designed as an architect and developed all over the country, and I can tell you that there is a full litany of typologies of planning zoning codes, and this is one of the clearest in the country, and it's can still be cleaner, and I'm sure in 10 years we'll be back at it, right? And then, what a great step up, and what a great to be at the front of the pack is something that a small city like ours isn't always able to do.
And to be acknowledged by the state too.
Yeah, well, they had
Yeah.
no choice.
Yes.
When you're out in front, it's
Yeah,
sometimes you
right.
sometimes you get recognized because you're out in front of the
Right,
pack.
right.
So that's great. It really is, prideful for me, and a great example. I've, sent it around to people going, nanny, but you should really be doing this, and boy, I would be building there if you only had a planning, a good code, a more concise code, a more, code that's not going to get me in trouble with every single one of your residents. Like this will still be as contentious as any other, but it is much clearer, and we can get hopefully right down to the discussions about good use, what the actual application is, and not the sort of minutia of a bad code. So this is really great.
But I want to say, as the former president of the Maryland Planning Commissioners Association and the current secretary treasurer of that organization, I really had an opportunity to stick my chest out. So I was happy.
That's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Well, that's the meeting, right? Anybody else? Frank, you're good, right?
Well, I would just say, attending the State of the City, it was great to see our chair get his award for his service as, essentially, I believe the official title was Person of the Year.
Yeah.
And then I know all of our thoughts, as Commissioner Winborn had said, are with him with the processes he's going through to get better and be back with us.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank. That's a great reminder. Great award. I think he enjoyed the St. Patty's Day parade
Right. Getting fed twice.
better, but that award is great. So that's great. Okay, great. Then we're adjourned. Thank you.